All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode here on Heart of Volunteer Veterans Podcast. This is your Veterans Focus, Ep.001. Now, if you remember back to the Season 2 introduction, we talked about the format changes that were going to take place. Now, Monday's episode is a Veterans Focus episode. Now, that's where we take a topic and we invite multiple veterans to come on, and we tackle that topic veteran style. Well, today I didn't have a chance to get multiple veterans that had knowledge around this topic area, but we do have a subject matter expert that's going to talk to us about educating during a pandemic. And if you remember back to Season 1, Veterans Chat 08, titled, So You Want to Be a Teacher, we've got that dynamic veteran co-host on today.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Will O'Brien. I served with Will in the Army. He was my company commander for a period of time, and he always set the example, and he had great heart and great strive to develop his leaders and his soldiers. And he's continued that as a civilian outside the Army. He's now a history teacher in the Kansas City, Missouri area. It's a very challenging area, as with many to be teaching in today. And he has some perspective for us on today's education system and what we're doing to educate our future generations during these challenging times.
Well said, my friend. Hey, let's invite him on.
Awesome.
Hey, Will, welcome back.
It's good to be back, brother. How you doing?
Doing good. We got the resident co-host, Will Price. He's here with us, and we're just enjoying the morning, having some coffee here at the bar, man.
Excellent. Just finished up mine, and I was sitting on the back porch watching my koi and doing old man things, but then we had some good Midwest Kansas City weather come through. And if you don't like the weather, just wait 15 minutes. So we went from clear and calm to, it's raining sideways outside right now. So
really?
That reminds me when we were all back in Hawaii.
Oh, yeah. How long's it been since you guys got a good rain up there?
It's been a few weeks. It's been a hot July.
Yeah, we got some rain here about a week and a half ago, and it was enough that knocked limbs and stuff out of my trees. I spent the morning picking up limbs out of the yard, but we haven't had anything since. It's just been, pretty 100 degrees with no wind.
Yeah,
with no wind, it makes it tough.
Yeah, we had a little bit of that blast furnace wind on and off, but it's been 90s, 100, the last week or so, and then totally losing my train of thought, but that's okay. That's what these talks are about.
Right. Hey, Will, when I was there, when we did your episode, that you were one of the first veterans that I interviewed, like face to face, brought the whole kit there and everything, and you had your small koi pond out there. I know you were talking about upgrading it. What have you guys done?
Well, originally this was the wife's project, and I was like, okay, well, we'll see what we can do to keep it alive. So a few years ago, we started out with a planter, like something you would put a plant in that you got at Lowe's or wherever, on the front porch, and went and got half a dozen 50-cent bait fish, goldfish. Right. No kidding. We went to the bait shop, and I was like, well, these things croak. This isn't a big financial loss. And the wife kind of toyed with it and put some plants in there. And then somehow they lived in that planter over a Kansas City winter. And so we're like, oh, okay, cool. And then, she's toying and watching YouTube videos or whatever. And we upgraded to a bigger planter. And then they made it another winter.
Right.
We're like, holy cow. And she's got them hand trained to feed and stuff. So we're getting emotionally attached, and these things just keep getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And then, so then last year we went to good old Tractor Supply and got basically a water trough that was like 200 gallons. And the boy and I dug it into the backyard, and that was kind of her, test fire in ground koi pond.
Right.
And they still lived, and they kept getting bigger and bigger. So we've got 6 bait fish, goldfish that are all about 10 inches long now. I mean, it's like the world's biggest goldfish that anybody's probably seen. So it was time to upgrade again. And she was like, well, we could do this, that. And I said, you know what? Even with recent high school graduate manual labor, I'm like, it's time to bring in the pros. So there's a water garden place near Lewisburg, Kansas, about a half hour away from here. Mm-hmm. And she'd been out there kind of reconning it, and that's where she was buying her plants to, keep the water filtered and stuff like that for a couple of years. And then finally I was like, you know what? You're in analysis paralysis. So I was like, I just made the call. Obviously, we'd saved a lot of money because can't really travel during lockdown. I was teaching from home and everything else. So I was like, all right, well, I don't think we're going on vacation this summer, so let's put the pond in. So, yeah, right next to where you and I sat, it's about 10 by 14 with the waterfall. Yeah, it ended up a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Holy cow.
Oh yeah, but it looks great, and I got nothing but good things to say about those guys, man. And they did it by hand. I was like, holy cow! We used to talk about go muscles and show muscles, and these guys were definitely go muscles. They had about the build of your usual military mover, right? And they dug this thing by hand and put these boulders in and everything in about 2 days. I was like, yeah, it's been a long time since I've done something like that. It's good to be financially stable in your old age.
Right. Hey, so is that a liner that's in there, like a special liner, or is it like a formed tank that they dropped into the hole that they dug?
I think when you get to this size, and since I've learned a lot about it, initially by osmosis from the wife, but no, it's a liner. It's like a thick rubber liner, and then they dug the shape and put some different tiers in there, and then laid it in. I mean, it's a pretty wild deal.
And you
but
got
the funny thing is, go on.
No, you got like a filtration system and all that kind of stuff built into it.
Oh yeah. So it like sucks in through the filtration thing, which is way low maintenance, except for the initial slime fight, like I was telling you. And then it comes out the waterfall and comes back down into it. This was originally the whole wife's project. And then I was telling you the other day when we were talking, somehow it's drawn me in, and now I see the relaxation appeal of sitting out there, and I catch myself sitting out there for a few hours at a time in the morning and in the evening, and wondering where my my new butterfly koi are and all this other stuff. Yeah.
Hey, what happened to the koi that your boy slid in there to test the wife's observation skills?
Oh yeah. Well, we turned out a couple things on that. One, when we bought it at PetSmart, the guy said it was a butterfly koi, but then it actually got bigger and turned out to be a shabunkin, which, from what I understand, is like I guess a butterfly koi is like a crossbreed between a actual koi and this Asian long-finned carp, and that's what gets the big fins. And then a shabunkin is like that, but instead of crossbreeding the koi with the Asian carp, they crossbreed a goldfish with an Asian carp. So, when we slid in there, he was in there 2 or 3 weeks hiding out in the dark down the bottom before the wife noticed him. But now he's large and in charge too. So turns out we've got about, we've got comic goldfish. We've got something called like a sarissa or a sarassa goldfish that was part of the bait fish that we didn't know it was that kind until it got bigger. And we got the one shabunkin. And now we've got 5 little 3-inch so far butterfly koi that I ordered online of all places. And there's a good variety. And hopefully the butterfly koi are go eat all the goldfish have been breeding very happily in their new pond here. So there's several hundred fry / infant goldfish swimming around right now. So we're like, eat up, boys. Otherwise,
now are some of the
handing
koi
out goldfish at Halloween?
Are some of the koi are they known to eat the minnow type baby fish?
That's the plan. I don't know.
Yeah,
we haven't seen that happen yet.
So what's
like I said,
how many gallons is your new pond?
Yeah, doing hillbilly math, I think it's about 2,000.
2,000. How many?
Yeah, we haven't got the water bill yet.
How many fish can you put in there?
I don't know. If you look online and watch videos and stuff, they talk about, inches of fish to gallons of water kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So bottom line is we've got about 12 fish we care about. So I think as long as you don't feed them too much, we should be okay in this. I don't know if we want to go much higher, though.
Right.
What'd you say, Will? I think you're smarter than me on this.
I think you're going to find out pretty quick since you got all those little babies.
Right. If you're going to get overloaded.
They had a koi pond at the old pineapple factory up the road from Schofield, and that thing was full of koi, like his zombie horde of koi. So I think they can. Oh yeah. They can be pretty densely populated. Yeah.
Oh, I know, and I keep thinking. I don't know if any of you guys ever got by Saddam's palace in Baghdad, but he had like those 8-foot carp in there. Mm-hmm. I used to swear that was where they'd get rid of the bodies during the regime or something like that.
Right.
And every time I'd walk across that drawbridge into the palace, I'd just be seeing those freaking 8-foot monster carp just swarming like crazy. And I'm like, yeah.
I definitely saw the castle down there, but I didn't know there was huge carp in there. That was neat.
Oh, yeah, totally. For a while, I was looking for it out of curiosity the other day, but there was like a Baghdad Anglers webpage or Facebook page or something, and it was guys that were, fishing for this giant carp in there. Couldn't find it when I looked for it. And that was, they also had like these carnivorous ducks.
Carnivorous ducks.
Wow.
Well, that's what I called them because I'd always get like a chicken patty snake one out of the chow hall when I was on my way into the palace. And I'd tear up the chicken patty and I'd feed it to the ducks and they'd freaking go crazy on it. So I was like, oh, cannibal ducks, man. And people were like, what are you talking about? I'm like, watch this. And they were freaking eating chicken like it was going out of style. And I was like, nice. Who knows?
Chicken will always eat chicken. I know about duck, though. That's neat.
Huh. Evidently. I don't know. They were probably Soviet bioengineered for Saddam or something.
Hey, Will, we got the school year coming on, man, and just to kind of piggyback off, so you want to be a teacher episode that you did.
Yeah.
How was the school year looking for you there in your area?
Dude, it's a mess. It's a mess, and I think it's a mess nationwide. But right. A lot of people. There's a lot of different perspectives out there, and the biggest thing I think for anybody listening is that there is no win-lose on this. It's lose all the way around. And I think this is the issue of getting kids back in school is probably about 5% about health, 5% about politics, 5% about teaching kids, and 85% about liability, just in terms of lawsuits and getting sued on what if things. Because a lot of urban public school districts in America, that there's not a lot of money going there. And we live in a very litigious society in America, and they can't afford these lawsuits. I mean, like I said, the welfare of the kids, the welfare of the teachers, health, that's in the conversation. But that the liability is the big driving force, in my opinion. And then tied to that comes money, and the money's not there for a lot of things, and the issue gets complicated real quick.
Now, Will, what do you see as far as there in your area? Are you guys going online for for the first semester, the full school year? What's the conversation looking like there?
Well, here in Kansas City, we got something like 20-something districts in the metro area. Right. And then within the city limits itself, we have 3 different districts. Some of them have announced already that they're going to go all online. Ours, with the initial plan right now, is we're going to try to go off a color code system based on the outbreak level of, like, red is all online, yellow is some sort of hybrid, and green is back to a full brick and mortar school.
Right.
And that sounds great, but my gut feel is that we're going all online for the fall. It's just it's too hard to do. And here in the Midwest, we generally start school in early August. Right. It's not an after Labor Day thing like on the East Coast, and I'm not sure what the West Coast does. But, hybrid is absolutely the worst course of action, in my opinion, that we can do, because it sounds good, but the logistics just aren't there. The administration just isn't there.
Hey, Will, what does the hybrid version look like, from where you sit? Can you kind of describe that?
The hybrid thing is an idea that, you send some of the kids on alternating days, and then parents have online option if they're not comfortable with their kids going.
Right.
And you'll do half class sizes with social distancing and all this other stuff. But, I'm a high school teacher, and I'm thinking there's a lot of problems with this. But, you start talking to elementary teachers and little kids and stuff like this, and you're like, this is a cluster. The district I actually live in, because most teachers don't live in the same district that they teach in unless there's a requirement. It's just kind of one of those things that falls out that way. The district that I actually live in, their plan is to try to start brick and mortar, and then if things go south, they're going to put the high school and the junior high full online at home, and then use the space in the high school and the junior high to spread out the little kids into smaller classes. But, there's second and third and fourth order effects with all this. Does that mean that you had one teacher teaching a kindergarten section and now you need 4 teachers? And then that becomes money.
Right.
And then not to leave you out of the conversation, you start thinking about it, a lot of public school buildings in America, even if you're in in a nice suburb, with good property taxes going towards the school, these are old buildings.
Right. And
a lot of them are still on boiler heat. The HVAC system is sketchy on a good day. Mm-hmm. And, the joke is that almost every school is a biowarfare lab anyhow, because one kid comes to school sick and it spreads down the hall and then goes back down and mutates and goes back down the hall as something else. And, that's just cold and flu and cough and whatever else. And God knows what's hiding in the vents up there.
Right.
So you're looking at having to retrofit, the HVAC systems for all these buildings and schools. And then you get into older buildings, and my gut feel is suspicion is as soon as you start pulling out HVAC systems to try to retrofit them in older schools, you're going to find asbestos.
Yep, and then you're shutting the building down. It's
yeah,
fun.
because once you know about the asbestos, you got to do something about the asbestos.
Yep.
And I mean, then you're very quickly, just for one good sized, like in my opinion, a high school building, I mean, you're looking at 7 figures just right off the bat to retrofit the building, and never mind all this other stuff. And I just don't think all these effects and mitigations can be turned, here we're about 4 weeks out from when we would normally start. That's not going to happen in time, and that's pushing the all online, fall option, I think, at a minimum.
Now, Will, do you see resources for your high school students? Are they going to they have the resources when you ended at spring break? To actually do class at home, computers and connections and all that kind of stuff?
We do.
Okay.
We do. And I teach in a high poverty school district.
Right.
For those of you that don't know, the code name and the code words they use for high poverty on a school district is how many students, what percentage of student population are eligible for, quote, free and reduced lunch.
Right.
And that kind of gives you an idea of what your poverty population is. My school district, 100% of the kids are eligible for free and reduced lunch. A lot of the district is Section 8 housing, which Section 8 housing is property tax exempt. Well, your public schools get money from property tax. So the cycle of poverty is there. But we've been fortunate to get some technology grants, and we're at what they call 1-to-1. So one student gets one device of MacBooks at the high school.
Wow.
And a lot of that came from a grant. And then a lot of the kids that don't have internet at home, we have Wi-Fi hotspots that hook up to, cellular network that originally a lot of them came from Sprint, and then Sprint got bought by, based here out of town, and then Sprint got bought by T-Mobile. Mm-hmm. But then also in the spring, that's my quarterback, Pat Mahomes, low key bought $1 million worth of hotspots for our district.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of respect for him because he tried to do it anonymously, not as a PR thing. He tried really hard to do it anonymously, and then somebody leaked it to the press that was him that donated the money. So that's another hometown point for Pat there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So bottom line is that we can get done with the technology.
Well, man, you know what? I'm glad that you guys got that, because I remember, when I came there to visit, and you drove me through your neighborhood, took me to your school, and basically kind of gave me the rundown of your students, like your demographic, and I'm glad that they're getting a chance to get the computers that they need.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of folks out there that don't have that.
No, they don't, and a lot of people don't understand that. There's a lot of challenges with these kids going on, and the political and the social is people like to talk about failing schools and whatever else, and you gotta have the vocation to work at a poverty urban school, because just like being a leader in the Army, I mean, you're not. If all you had to do was show up and teach, life would be pretty easy. Right. But, you're a social worker, you're a coach, you're a mentor, and sometimes your dad, there's been points where, I think I said this when we talked before, but, I'm teaching a kid how to shave in the locker room, because there's no men in his life. And, so there's a lot of distractions and real life, real world things that these kids have going on that, are where school is the low priority. And unfortunately, and this is where you get into the national economy with this stuff, and it becomes a political fight. You got a single parent home with small kids, and is it the school's job to be childcare? Well, probably not, but that's the unspoken reality in America, where probably since the 90s, if you got two parents in the house, they're both working.
Yep.
And if you got a single parent household, which is common in a poverty environment, if the kids aren't going to school,
latchkey kids.
Yeah. And then what does that mean for distance learning? Which also brings up a good point is, a lot of the memes and all the stuff out there in the world, uses the term homeschool. Mm-hmm. And homeschool is something different. Homeschool is you as a parent buying a curriculum pack online, or a lot of them are faith-based, mm-hmm. and teaching your kid yourself on the curriculum pack. And there's usually some sort of, testing authority that has oversight of that.
Right.
But that's not what we're doing when we're talking about not opening schools. We're talking about distance learning is really the right term, because it's still teachers, it's still administration, it's still that school. Mm-hmm. It's just they can't go into the building, so we've got to do it remotely.
Right.
And that's a better term to be using rather than homeschool.
Now, Will, do you see a lot of your classes, this fall? Are you doing like videos where they go and watch it for like whatever subject you're teaching for that day, or is it they show up at a certain time and you're kind of live? How are you going to be setting that up?
That's one of the things that is still kind of open. Some schools, are directing that.
Right.
My school actually is pretty empowering of the teachers, and is very receptive. I'm very fortunate to have some great building and district level leadership. And personally, my thing is, if you're trying to lock the kid into, and again, I'm talking in a high school environment, this is way different probably if it has to go down to elementary. I think in a high school environment, if you're trying to lock the kid in on a command appearance from 9 to 10 o'clock to stare at each other over the video camera, you're probably making the problem worse.
Right.
In the spring, I had a lot of families where their parents got laid off because their places of employment shut down, but the kids had a job working at the grocery store, an essential service, yep. or working at a restaurant, at a curbside place. And my high school kids were the ones that were earning, to keep the household afloat because their parents were down. So if I had some sort of command appearance, you got to be online from 1 to 2. That's not helping anything. That's not helping anybody. So
right.
I tend to be more of a, post my intro video, mini lesson, and then, read an assignment or whatever, and then be kind of flexible, saying, hey, get this watched and get this done sometime in the next, 2 or 3 days, and we'll talk about it on Thursday.
Right.
Now, the caveat to that is that I teach history. History is pretty easy to go online on,
right?
Because it's watching a video or it's reading something or whatever. There's not a lot that I need to be actively in front of you, engaging with you, teaching real time on.
Right.
Math, man, that's a whole different story.
Right.
Science, that's a whole different story. And then the big challenge too, and I think that this is both at the high school and the younger level, is if a kid can't read at grade level, mm-hmm. the computer isn't going to do them any good.
Right.
And there are things that we call, the term is scaffold, to kind of support them. Apple and Google both have read aloud features that you can turn on where the kids can be reading along on the document. And that helps mitigate, even if they have the vocabulary, and even if they're in wealthy districts, a lot of kids nowadays don't read recreationally. Right. So then something in teacher speak that comes into play called processing speed. So, yeah, the kid can read at grade level or above. Yeah, the kid has a vocabulary, understands the word. But because they don't read recreationally, because they're focused on social media and YouTube and TikTok and all that other stuff, they don't read fast.
Right.
So that where you and I, where I say, hey, read 2 pages out of the textbook and knock these questions out. Okay, we've got it done in, probably 20 minutes.
Right.
And then you have these kids, and again, this is I think doesn't really have anything to do with poverty or affluence. 2 pages of a college level textbook it might as well be the Great Wall of China.
Right.
Their motivation to read that is, man, this is going to take me an hour. And you're like, how's it going to take you an hour to read, 2 or 3 pages of straight text or an article or an essay or whatever? Well, it might, because it's not a comprehension thing; it's a speed thing.
Right.
So,
how much do you think? How much do you think that is also like the critical thinking aspect of reading the 2 pages and then putting together all the elements of the 2-page reading to come out with an original kind of idea with it? The critical thinking aspect.
Critical thinking is one of the biggest things I try to focus on in teaching, because this is generational. But there was a book that came out years ago, and I can't remember the author, but the title of the book was called The Shallows. And it had to do with Americans and information in the age of the internet. And what he said is before the internet, people knew a lot about a few things.
Right.
A lot. There was a lot of depth, but they didn't know a lot about a lot of things. Then with the internet, and this is where the shallow term comes in, you know a little about a lot of things, but you don't have a lot of depth to it.
Right.
And to get depth, you have to get critical thinking, but then you take juvenile and adolescent psychology, which is all about immediate gratification to themselves. So it's very common where you have a situation where you give the kid 2 pages to read and 3 questions to answer, and each of those 3 questions is directly related to, its own paragraph, where it's almost a copy and paste thing. And a lot of these kids, if they're not closely monitored, and this is one of the challenges of distance learning too, they're going to Google those questions without ever even reading the article. And they'll spend more time Googling a question to find the answer than they would if they had just read the article and answered it themselves. And that's something that kind of needs that in-person hand on the shoulder from a teacher, catching them doing that, going, hey, dude, stop Googling.
Right.
Read the article. You'd be done with it already. So that's just, another component of the mess, whether it's distance learning or in-person instruction.
Now, Will, I know for you, we talked on your episode, you give a lot, like you said, you're teaching young men how to shave in the locker room. What kind of program do you have set up for your students that need office hours with you? Do you guys have that all kind of lined out? And are you always getting that? Because it sounds like to me, from what we talked before, you got students that are calling you all the time, like, Will, can you help me with this? I need some advice. So I imagine you've got that door open for all your past students and then the ones you have now. But is that pretty prevalent around, across the board?
I think if you're a good teacher, it definitely is.
Yeah.
And I go back to the old military mentality of, never walk away from a soldier with a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And most of a private's problem or most of a high school kid's problems can be solved with 5 minutes of conversation, know? So I do my best to find a balance on that, just like you had to find a balance in the military. And we do have, or what we did in the spring, like I said, it's not locked in just yet for the fall, but we had online office hours where you need to be available for your kids to buzz in online and talk to you, during certain hours on a daily basis. And sometimes they did, and sometimes they didn't. A joke that I had was, we had online office hours from 8:30 to 10:30 in the morning. Well, high school kids without a gun to their head aren't getting up till noon.
Right.
Or if they are, they're going to work,
Yeah.
So I was sitting there farming for bed sores on my butt, from 8:30 to 10:30. But then the flip side is I have my school email that goes to my phone as well. So, if the kid's hitting me when they hit me and I've got my email on the phone, I can hit them back real quick from wherever, whenever.
Right.
And then it just becomes an educational and leadership philosophy on how late in the night you're answering that. I try to cut it off at 5:00, around dinner time, because you gotta handle your own family too.
Right.
But if it's a critical thing, I'll wait till I got a few minutes and I'll fire an answer off to them if I've got the time to do it. But if it's a non-time sensitive thing, even though in an adolescent's mind it might be, I'll be like, hey man, you're good. I'll give you an extension on it, and I'll talk to you tomorrow morning about it, give you some more details on it.
Right.
So don't have an aneurysm about trying to get this done tonight.
Yeah.
But again, that's personal philosophy there, I think.
Right. Well, Will, I think, especially like you said, for the history part, pretty easy for you to teach. You're a dynamic teacher anyway, so I know, I'd love to take a history class by you. I think it'd be fun. I mean, you've taught me a lot about history just during deployments. So, yeah, and I think that's going to work out well, man. And I wish you all the luck this year, just for you and for your students, man, so the system works,
Listen, we're going to make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, one way or another.
Right.
Everybody's go have hurt feelings in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Teachers, kids, parents, politicians, everybody's, like I said, there is no winner in this situation.
Yeah.
But we're going to make it happen, and teachers across America are going to make it happen. And we'll try something, and if it doesn't work, we'll try something else. But we're not going to leave a generation of kids, sitting at home just stagnating. We're going to make something happen.
Right.
Awesome.
Hey, Will, how do you feel about coming on here and probably here in a few months when you've got you got a few months of school under you, and just kind of talk about how things have developed from this conversation until that point? Are you down for that?
Oh, I definitely am, and I think maybe there's value to sharing the perspective of what's going on in a teacher's mind, because the whole country is about adversarial relationships right now. Right. And anytime we can, get first person empathy from someone else that, changes the perspective, then I think there's value to that. So, yeah, I'm definitely down for that, man.
Okay, definitely. We'll definitely get you back on. Well, hey, we want to thank you, man, for coming on, and we wish you the best of luck this year. Best of luck.
Thanks a lot, brother. We always, we'll get through it with brute force and ignorance and, treachery and drive and a whole lot of luck. So thanks for having me, Chris. And Will, good talking to you. I know we didn't actually talk too much on this because I was running my mouth, but
it's good to hear from you.
Great being on, and
awesome.
Look forward to talking to you again.
Definitely.
All right, well, thanks, man. We'll talk to you later, brother.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
All right, later.
Bye.
Hey, I got to tell you, Will, what a great episode, man. What a great episode.
To talk to Will. It was definitely
His passion for teaching, for being an educator. I mean, I could feel it, like you said, back when he was our company commander, his passion, his drive. Going back and going to his home and doing Veterans Chat 08 last season, I could feel it. People could hear it on the episode. I think it's even more so now because it feels so much more urgent to get this, no matter where he's at, in the school, hybrid, or distance learning, these kids have to learn. And I think he brings the passion that's going to make that happen.
Definitely. It's people with that great strive and that perseverance like Will who are going to be able to take the next generation where they need to be. Because we do need strong teachers. We need teachers that we can trust to do the right thing. And it's good that we have people like that out there. So
definitely,
important.
Will, I think you and I were talking, man, earlier that these teachers, I mean, it's not like they just go to the school and like, I want to be a teacher, and they walk in the classroom and they fiddle around teaching our kids. They're going from elementary school, junior high, high school, into college, more college to become teachers, to teach our children, and they're not making very much money. And like Will, they go where the action is, where the friction is, and he's in a poor neighborhood, rocking it with the same skills he did in Afghanistan, leading us with, on the desert floor with nothing, doing it again. And I think people miss that part about our educators, that they're dedicated to this, and for them, there's no turning back. I think we need to think about that when before we start shooting these teachers. I think that's the wrong move.
Definitely, they're very dedicated people. It's amazing for me to see Major O'Brien. It's inspirational because as a soldier getting out of the Army, you struggle to find something that you can really sink your teeth into as much as Major O'Brien's been able to transfer that right over to teaching America's youth, and just in a different way, and that's easily transferable if you can make that jump. Other veterans can see there's other things that you can strive for that'll fulfill you. Even though it's not a great paying job, you get rewarded with the lives you're enriching. The more you put into that job, the more you will get more out. So,
dude, you got it. You hit it right on the head, man. That's absolutely it.
Definitely.
Absolutely it. Well, it was a good episode, I think.
It was.
It was.
Great.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we this is our little, at the end of the episode, call to action, okay? We need you to share the podcast. We need you to get it on your social media. We need you to talk about it with people. We need you to share it. If there's veterans out there or civilians that you think that can benefit from it, please share it with them. We need some shares, we need some likes, and we need some comments. The likes only let us know how far we're reaching. The comments help us where we can fix things, or we can keep moving ahead on the same azimuth. And here's the thing: when you share it, you just bring more people, more listeners, more veterans that could use this information, or veterans that want to come on and share information with the rest of the community. So with that, hey, this is Chris.
And Will.
Enjoy your day, and we'll catch you again on Wednesday with a veterans chat. Probably going to be a little coffee.
Yes.
A little coffee at the bar with Will. So everybody enjoy your day, your week, and stay blessed. Copyright Heart of Volunteer 2020.